Hi. Today I am going to explain an action movie called No Time to Die. Spoilers ahead, watch out and enjoy. Flashbacks start the picture. Madeline Swan cares on her sick mother as a masked guy approaches. Madeline sees the man and hides. The man introduces himself as Liatsifer Safin and says he's come for Mr. White, who killed Safin's family. Safin shoots Madeline's mother when she doesn't answer. Safin searches for Madeline under her bed. She shoots him, yet he's still alive. Madeline runs into the chilly water. Safin shoots the ice and pulls the girl out to save her. Madeline is dating James Bow in Matera. Madeline knows Bond still misses Vesper Lind, who is buried nearby. She convinces him to let her go by writing "Masked Man" in French and burning it. Bond forgives Vesper the next morning at her tomb. He has a "forgive me" note to burn. Bond sees a Spectre calling card before departing, and the tomb explodes seconds afterwards. Bond recovers quickly enough to run, but assassins headed by Primo/Cyclops pursue him. Bond rides his motorcycle back to his hotel and accuses Madeline of setting him up because the assassins shouldn't know where he is. He puts Madeline in an Aston Martin and leads assassins on a high-speed chase across Matera. Bond and Madeline are cornered in a plaza by the villains, who shoot at their automobile as Bond does nothing. When he realizes Madeline is speaking the truth, he uses the car's machine gun to murder all but Primo. Bond brings Madeline to a train station and puts her on a train after losing trust in her. She cries as the train departs, but he's gone. 5 years later, another team of assassins breaks into an MI6 lab. They are working under Safin, who contacts head scientist Valdo Abrachev and warns him about who is coming. The assassins take Abrachev and another scientist captive while killing the rest of the team. They are there to acquire Heracles, a deadly bioweapon that can be used as a poison through skin-to-skin contact. After getting what they want, the assassins kill the other man and take Abrachev with them. MI6 catches wind of this, with Moneypenny, Naomi Harris, going to talk to M about it, but he remains tight-lipped on what Heracles is and demands to know where 007 is. Bond is now retired from MI6 and living in Jamaica. He runs into Felix Leiter and his colleague Logan Ash. They go to a nightclub where Felix tells Bond about Abrachev's capture and the break into the lab. Bond has little interest in getting involved in recovering Abrachev, and he also tells Felix he has suspicious feelings about Ash. As Bond tries to go home, he finds that his car isn't working. He is approached by a woman called Nomi who gives him a ride on her motorcycle. When they get back to his place, she quickly drops her facade to reveal that she is not only an agent with MI6 but also the new 007. She tells him that Abrachev is her target and for Bond to stay out of her way. M and Bill Tanner talk to Q about retrieving files stolen from the lab. Bond contacts M to ask him what he has done involving Abrachev and Spectre. M hangs up and tells Tanner he wants to get in touch with Blofeld, who is locked up in Belmarsh and is seen talking to himself. Felix has Bond go to Cuba to meet a CIA operative named Paloma. They infiltrate a Spectre meeting where Blofeld is using a robotic eye like the one Primo uses to observe the party. Meanwhile, Abrachev is being forced to set up Heracles in the facility, but he is seen switching a vial from the device. Once Bond and Paloma realize Blofeld is up to something, the entire party turns their focus to Bond. The Heracles poison is released into the room, with the intent to kill Bond while the poison doesn't affect Spectre agents. What happens is the opposite, as Spectre operatives start to grow boils on their faces before dropping dead, all while Bond and Paloma remain unaffected. The two face off against gunmen, including Primo, while Nomi shows up to apprehend Abrachev. After killing off several henchmen, Paloma gets a car and spots Abrachev trying to make a run for it. She rams the car into the structure he is climbing down, causing him and it to collapse onto the car. Bond takes Abrachev and part ways with Paloma after she gives him a cigar for Felix, and Bond takes Abrachev away on a rickety old plane. Bond brings Abrachev to Felix's boat to meet with him and Ash. When they start to interrogate Abrachev about Heracles and why it specifically did not affect Bond, Ash grows nervous and tells Abrachev to stop talking. Abrachev says Spectre was always the main target, so he changed the DNA sample during the poisoning to kill them instead of Bond, and he also says that M helped him create Heracles. When Bond asks how Blofeld knew he would be there, he quickly realizes Ash is a double agent working with Abrachev. During a struggle, Ash shoots Felix and gets away with Abrachev, and they blow a hole into the ship to cause it to sink. Although Bond tries to help Felix, they know his gunshot wound is too severe, and Felix resigns himself to his fate. Bond regrettably leaves his friend behind before managing to break free and escape. Bond returns to MI6 to confront M. He demands to be let into Belmarsh to speak to Blofeld, but M refuses and ends up sending Bond out after Bond pisses him off. M calls Nomi in to tell her that he wants everything in Blofeld's cell scanned, even the man himself. On his way out, Moneypenny offers to help Bond. That night, they go to Q's house as he is preparing to have dinner with his boyfriend. They ask him to take a look at the files they recovered, and when he does, they discover files on the Spectre targets, with only Blofeld remaining. There are also thousands of other files on others regarding their DNA samples all over the world. Bond tells Q to get him into Belmarsh to meet with Blofeld, but he says only one person has access to him. Cut to Madeline going to her job as a psychiatrist. She goes to her office to find Safin there, but she doesn't immediately recognize him until he presents her with his broken mask. Once she becomes frightened, he tells her that he needs her for something. Bond later meets with the whole MI6 team to be reinstated as a 00 agent. They review files over a Spectre operative's funeral, where 5 family members who came into contact with him are now dead from contracting the Heracles poison. M then explains that Heracles was not meant to be as harmful as it is now, as it was only meant to be designed for specific targets through contact over those it doesn't affect, but now it has been weaponized using nanobots to go after targets and anyone related to them. M finally approves for Bond to meet with Blofeld and find out whatever he can. Bond goes to Belmarsh and reunites with Madeline. He tries to shake her hand but she declines. Once Blofeld is brought out to them, Madeline starts to grow nervous and tries to leave. Bond grabs her wrist but she pulls away and leaves. Bond is left talking to Blofeld, who taunts him and says he set up an attack at Vesper's tomb to deliberately make Bond believe that Madeline set him up. He taunts Bond to the point where he grabs Blofeld to physically attack him. As Tanner enters to stop Bond, they then see that Blofeld has been poisoned to death by Bond's touch. Bond learns he was infected with Heracles after touching Madeline, and he can't get it out. Madeline has fled her apartment and nobody can find her. Bond goes after her on her own and finds her at her childhood home. To his surprise, he finds that she has a daughter, Mathilde, although Madeline claims she is not Bond's. After putting Mathilde to bed, Madeline informs Bond about who Safin is. Blofeld instructed Madeline's father to kill Safin's whole family, which left him as the only survivor with facial disfigurements. She also mentions an island that Safin's family had, where his base of operations currently is. Bond gives Q info on locating Safin, and Q informs MI6 that the island is located between Japan and Russia. Nomi is looking for Ash, but Bond learns that he and Safin's other minions are close, so he gets Madeline and Mathilde out of the house for safety. Safin's assassins pursue the three. Bond knocks 2 cars off the road, then their van. Bond shoots and traps assassins until Ash tries to murder him. Bond's van flips and crashes. Ash seeks Bond's aid. Bond crushes Ash's van for Felix's death. He discovers that Madeline and Mathilde have been abducted. Nomi hands Bond the 007 titles as they head to the island to stop Safin and save Madeline and Mathilde. The villain invites the two to his garden where he grows toxic plants, including nanobots for Heracles poison. Bond and Nomi are brought to the island to chase the shooters. They seize Abrachev and prepare to blow up the place, but lack enough explosives. Nomi pushes Abrachev into a nanobot pool, where he is dissolved. After seeing the nanobot's effects, other workers fled. By splashing boiling tea in his face, Madeline escapes Primo's custody. Bond captures Safin and Mathilde. Bond begs Safin not to injure Mathilde and Madeline when he threatens them, but he then murders Safin's guards and escapes with Mathilde. Safin bites the girl but lets her go. Madeline finds her. Bond saves them. Bond uses Q's gadget watch to fry Primo's cybernetic eye, killing him. Bond opens hatches to let the Royal Navy destroy the facility with missiles. He succeeds and prepares to go, but Safin closes the door. Safin shoots Bond and infects him with nanobots targeting Madeline and Mathilde. Bond fractures Safin's arm and kills him. He opens the doors, but he can't leave without harming Madeline and Mathilde. Q has Nomi call Madeline for him. Madeline verifies Mathilde's parentage in their final time together. The missiles destroy the facility and Bond. Everybody knows what occurred. M, Tanner, Q, Moneypenny, and Nomi toast Bond at MI6. Madeline drives Mathilde to Matera. She tells Mathilde about her father, Bond. 007.
Thanks for watching. For more videos like this, please subscribe, like, and share this video, and leave a comment with the name of any film you'd like us to review.